Hey everyone, S-Dub Nation here, and welcome back to a brand new Star Wars video here in the channel. I like to stop and take the time to rank all of these Star Wars trilogies, but this time in a franchise showdown. So I'm going to have 6 rounds, and they're all going to be contributing to the tally points. If the movie is in first place, it's going to start off with 1 point. If the movie is in second place, it's going to start off with 2 points. And if the movie is in third place, it's going to start off with 3 points. So just so you guys know, if the movie starts off in third place with 3 points and gets third place again next time, it's going to add up to 6 points because I'm going to add 3 to that. The first round, we're going to be looking at the critic scores of each movie inside of the trilogy and averaging them out from Rotten Tomatoes. Our second round is going to be the first movie in each trilogy ranked. Our third round is going to be the second movie in each trilogy ranked. And our fourth round is going to be every third movie in each trilogy ranked. Our fifth round, we're going to be looking at the consistency of each trilogy. And in our last round, we're going to have each audience score from each movie in each respective trilogy. We're going to average them out, and then we're going to add in and average out the subscribers' vote of that respective trilogy. So now, since you know the rounds and the rules, let's get into the ranking. Our first round up, we have the critic scores. We're going to be looking at all of the critic scores between all of the trilogies. So coming in at last place has got to go to the Prequels trilogy with only 66%. And then next up, we have the sequel trilogy with 78%. And at number 1, we have the original trilogy with 89%. So our first scoreboard reads the originals with first place with only 1 point, the sequels in second place with only 2 points, and the prequels in third place with only 3 points. Our second roundup, we're going to be ranking the first movies in each trilogy. Kicking off my list at number 3, we have Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, this movie actually has great ideas, and it also has a better story than Attack of the Clones, but it just has too many ideas that are boring. I like the fact that they're going back to the Anakin Skywalker that is a child, but it does not make sense for the entire trilogy. And then you also have the politics side of things and Jar Jar Binks. I really don't have a problem with Jar Jar Binks. I know he's annoying, but a lot of people hate Jar Jar Binks. I don't hate him. I just think that he's annoying. But everything that's inside of this film is just, some of the stuff is just so boring that it just takes away the fantastical elements that was Star Wars, the original trilogy. Our runner-up at number 2, we have The Force Awakens. Now, The Force Awakens is a movie that I very much enjoy. When I first saw this, I kind of fell asleep. It kind of was too long. But when I rewatched it, I enjoyed it a lot more, and I still enjoy it to this day. This movie takes you on a nostalgia ride, and it is fantastic. I like the fact that it's a modernized New Hope, but also being a brand new story. I feel like J.J. Abrams wanted to take us on this journey of nostalgia while also bringing in something new villains, new characters, new ideas, and actually something that would enhance the world of Star Wars a lot more. But the story does have a lot of issues. But coming in at my number 1 has got to go to A New Hope, obviously. The first Star Wars movie is so great because it is just a classic story of a hero, a small-time hero going to save the princess, and it is just a ton of fun. The movie itself is actually 2 hours long, and it doesn't even feel that way. And as George Lucas kind of takes us on this journey of self-discovery, it's so great because we get to go on this journey with likable characters and see something new in the process. I love the fact that this movie is so good and it's very rewatchable to this day. The scoreboard now reads the original is in first place with 2 points, the sequels in second place with 4 points, and the prequels in third place with 6 points. Our third round, we're going to be looking at the second movie in each trilogy. Kicking off my list at number 3, we have Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This movie has a lot of story problems. You can clearly see that it is CGI all around. We also have the relationship between Anakin and Padme, which does not work. It's just a lot of things in this movie that when George Lucas wanted to make Anakin Skywalker a child, but also wanted him to have a relationship with Padme and Anakin, you don't buy much into it in this movie because of the fact that it is weird and that it is gross. And Padme was 10 years older than Anakin when he was first starting out in Phantom Menace, so it's just a relationship that you don't buy into. I think the only thing that I really like about this movie is the fact that it's actually planting the seeds of where Anakin's betrayal and his downfall happens in Revenge of the Sith. And also Padme is kind of hot in this movie. Our runner-up at number 2, we have The Last Jedi. You either really hate this movie or love this movie. I kind of love this movie. I think this movie might be my favorite Star Wars movie. Yes, it has a lot of problems with Finn and the Poe storylines, but all in all, man, with the Reylo stuff and the Luke stuff, I find myself actually enjoying this movie. It has some gorgeous shots in it. The cinematography is amazing. This might be the best acting that we've ever gotten from Luke Skywalker. And I just think that it is a great movie. The reason why I think that this might be my favorite Star Wars movie is the fact that it's letting Rian Johnson do what he wants to do with the film. Yes, he did some bad things in this film that are really bad, but he also did some good things in this film that are really great. It feels like this film is just his vision, and I just love that. I love seeing directors' visions come to life. But coming in at my number 1 has got to go to The Empire Strikes Back. If you thought the original film was good, you are going to love The Empire Strikes Back. This movie is just bigger and better and all around just a great film. It's very smart and it's big and kind of romantic. The Empire Strikes Back brings something new with the sequel while also continuing from the original. Luke's father reveal is very surprising and this movie looks phenomenal. The characters learn and grow, and it's just such a great middle film inside of this original trilogy where it actually goes bigger in scale and grander in gravitas, and I just love it till this day. The scoreboard now reads the originals in first place with 3 points, the sequels in second place with 6 points, and the prequels in last place with 9 points. For our fourth round, we're going to be looking at the third movie in each trilogy. Kicking off my list at number 3, we have The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker is meh, okay. It's one of those films where I haven't rewatched it. I haven't rewatched the prequels, and I also haven't rewatched this movie. This is the only sequels movie I have not rewatched, and I think that is a testament to how bad the movie is. It has some pacing problems, it has some writing problems, directing problems. I just think that this film all around is just bland and it doesn't bring anything new to Star Wars except for coincidences. Coincidences. They all happen inside of this entire trilogy, and this movie showcases that perfectly. The Rise of Skywalker, while also being an okay film, I just have not rewatched it. It just feels like it's trying to erase what happened in The Last Jedi and trying to take it back to Force Awakens, and you just can't do that when you have this middle film being so important to the rest of the trilogy. Our runner-up at number 2, we have Return of the Jedi. This may shock you guys, but yeah, Return of the Jedi is at number 2. I do think that this is a good film. I think it's a great film. I think it's a great ending to this original trilogy. I just think that some of the stuff is too long. It has a lot of boring elements inside of it, and I really don't find myself entertained as much as I like it to be. Don't get me wrong, it's a great film, a great addition to the trilogy, a great ending to the trilogy. When out of the first 2 movies, this one is the one that I wouldn't rewatch, and it's obviously the lowest one of the original trilogy. But coming in at my number 1 has got to go to The Revenge of the Sith. Though the first 2 movies of this trilogy is kind of bad, I do think that those 2 movies actually sets up what happens in this film. We have all of those politics, all of those Senate hearings, and it all leads to this. And I think that's perfect. And it's crazy how the Jedi fall to the hands of one of their own. And I think Anakin's fall, Anakin's betrayal is so emotional and powerful because of the fact that his reasons are valid. Is it an enjoyable film? Yes. Is it a memeable film? Yes, but it's also a very much emotional film. And I think it's a perfect end to the prequels where we have the rise of Anakin Skywalker, but also have the fall of Anakin Skywalker and the rise of Darth Vader in the end. The scoreboard now reads the originals in first place with 5 points, the sequels in second place with 9 points, and the prequels in last place with 10 points. In our fifth round, we're going to be looking at the consistency of all of the trilogies. Kicking off my list at number 3, we have the sequel trilogy. Obviously, this trilogy got to come in last place. I mean, they started off great with The Force Awakens. I mean, The Force Awakens was such a good movie. And then you went into The Last Jedi, which is another movie that I kind of love. And then we move into The Rise of Skywalker, where it just falls off the rails because they try to erase what happened in the last movie. The Last Jedi tries to erase what happened in Force Awakens. The Rise of Skywalker tries to erase what happens in The Last Jedi. It's just each sequel inside of this trilogy wants to erase what happened in the last movie because they're battling over who owns the trilogy. And I feel like Disney rushed too much into this Star Wars thing. Instead of having a plan and writing out what they wanted to happen with these characters and actually honoring the legacy characters without killing them off in each movie, I think that would have been perfectly fine if they would have just took at least 5 years, 3 years, 2 years to just plan out what they wanted to do with the Star Wars property. Our runner-up at number 2, we have the original trilogy. I just think that this trilogy works because of the fact that this is Luke's story. He goes from a whiny brat talking about power converters to a calm, peaceful Jedi that almost falls into the dark side but saves his father in the process. And I think that is such a great arc for this character of Luke. Yes, you can argue that all 6 films in the prequels and in the original trilogies are Anakin's story, but it doesn't start getting into Anakin's story until the Return of the Jedi. We see Darth Vader as this menacing villain, and then when we get inside of Empire Strikes Back, we learn that Darth Vader is actually Luke's dad, so that gives us a little bit more mystery. And then we lead into Return of the Jedi, where Anakin Skywalker is saved by Luke Skywalker. So really, this trilogy, yes, it's consistent in being standalone films, but I don't think George Lucas was planning to have Darth Vader be Luke Skywalker's father. But this trilogy has 3 great movies underneath his belt. The first one has a great start to the trilogy. The second one is the middle film that is the greatest out of all of the movies. And the third one is a great ending to this trilogy. But coming in at my number 1 has got to go to the prequel trilogy. Throughout this entire trilogy, this is Anakin's story. This is Anakin's fall into the dark side, and I love it. We have these sprinkled in scenes, sprinkled in dialogue throughout the entire trilogy. Even in Phantom Menace, even in Attack of the Clones, we have sprinkled in dialogue and themes, and it has payoff in Revenge of the Sith. That's why I love Revenge of the Sith so much, because yes, though the first 2 movies are bad, the third one is great because of the fact that it has payoff to the first 2 films that it came before it. So I think the prequel trilogy is the most consistent because it is Anakin's story and it is Anakin's downfall to the dark side, where he becomes Darth Vader and rises to power and creates the Empire. The scoreboard now reads the originals still in first place with 7 points, the prequels in second place with 11 points, and the sequels in last place with 12 points. And our last round, we're going to be looking at the audiences, and I asked you guys what is your favorite Star Wars trilogy, so we're going to be looking at the subscribers' votes. Kicking off my list at number 3, we have the Prequels trilogy with only 60%, and 2 of you guys voted the prequels, so we have 61%. Our runner-up, we have the sequels with 72% from Rotten Tomatoes, and only 5 of you guys voted for that one, so we have 75%. But obviously, coming in at number 1, we have the originals with 96%, and 5 of you guys voted the originals, so we have 99%. Our final scoreboard reads the originals in first place still with 8 points, the sequels in second place with 14 points, and the prequels in third place with 14 points. Though it is a tie, we do have a tiebreaker because the sequels actually got majority of the votes, and it had more votes than the prequels. So out of the sequels and the prequels lost, so you gotta add on 2 points to that. So the originals are still in first place with 8 points, the sequels are in second place with 14 points, and the prequels are now in last place with 16 points, thus ending our franchise showdown. Alright guys, that is it for the ranking. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion. My list was certainly not the right list, it was just my list, and you're free to comment down below your ranking of all the trilogies, or you could just do your favorite. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.